All right, so this is to document the progression of kind of my next mad scientist project, and that is converting this old salt tank into a Kenyan sand boa ant farm. And so what the heck does that mean? Well, I'm envisioning a terrarium where the kind of the basis of it starts about halfway across, and everything above is, you know, typical terrarium, plants and sand and whatever. And everything below is going to be a designed you know, foam carve-out tunnel system pressed up kind of against the glass, so we can kind of see the sand boas, you know, build well, like exactly as it seems, like an ant farm. So there's going to be several steps of this. The first is kind of building an interior box to get the tunnels out towards the edge of the glass, so you can actually see the snakes. So one of the things I've done already is a lot of this was very corroded, so I ripped out a lot of the lighting and electronics from when this was a salt tank, but kept the ventilation fans. So the first thing I have to do is cut a thing to cover this, you know, hole, obviously. During the process, I'm going to have to make sure I cover, you know, these holes. This grating actually I think is fine enough where I don't think a Kenyan sand boa can go through. But yeah, so this will be the progression of this. First step we got to do is create a template of the bottom of this aquarium, now terrarium. So again, I need to build a middle box to push everything out. And what I'm thinking about is kind of removable tunnel sections so that this tank doesn't become just impossible to clean. Hey, look at that. That's not too bad. I can live with that. Cool beans. So now we just got to cut this guy out and make him out of PVC. All right, so here is the kind of rough outline what we have here. So again, we're going to have kind of pop-in tunnel inserts that are going to be around the perimeter here that pushes the animals kind of up against the glass so you can actually, you know, see them. And then this is a divoted section, so this is going to have substrate as well. So really they're going to have access to free-form burrowing and kind of, you know, kind of preset burrow section as well. So it'll really be able to hit all the requirements of the animals and really kind of give them a variety of places to be. All right, so here we go. This is the basic frame that we're looking at. Now again, I keep stressing that it's going to look a little rough for the time being because all of this is going to be you know, covered up by foam and background and stuff. But really this just goes to show that it's broken into 3 different side sections. So if you have an animal that's in here, the goal is it'll be basically impossible to reach the animal from above because again, it's all ant farm type tunnel system. So if you really do need to access the animal, you can remove a section of tunnel out and access it from the side, which will again be open because it's going to be against this glass here. So it's broken down into 3 sections so that each of these can be removable. So yeah, that gives you a good idea of how it's going to come along, and then now it's just a matter of starting to do the foaming and siliconing everything and all that. All right, so I'm thinking about how I want to make this a little more secure because there's this kind of little bit of a gap between these 2 panels potentially, and I want something that's a little more locked in. So I think what I'm going to do is 3D print a little apparatus to kind of lock these 2, slide them down into place, and really kind of get them in line with each other. So yeah, let's see if I can work that out. All right, so here's the basic sketch of the clip we're going to 3D print. So this will be what clips into the tunnel side, so there'll be tunnels kind of this way, and this will be the clip that clips that onto the middle box. So basically all we need to do is just make this however big we need it and throw it on the 3D printer and hope it works. Now I don't have the fancy equipment to do like a time-lapse video of this, but here you can see this is a 3D printer printing, and this is a test clip to make sure my dimensions are right. It's going to fit everything snugly. And then I'm going to print the full-size one. Alright, so here's our test clip. And it actually turned out pretty good. Got a little stringing, but not bad. This is PETG, so that's not really surprising. This is my first time really printing a
intricate part like that, so I can just trim it up real quick. And
there's our test clip in place, and you can see it's slightly splayed out some. So I'll probably increase the gap between the bars by a little bit. And you can kind of see how it's meant to go, where we can work this into place. And that'll slide in and hold it all together. It's unfortunately a little stressed, more so than I'd like. So I went ahead and tried a different fix just by manually removing that middle section and screwing this guy into place with kind of a short screw. And you can kind of see a little better now how it's supposed to functionally work, where it'll hold it right in place. So it's not going anywhere, they can't squeeze between this gap, but then of course be this whole length. So with that being said, I think I'll make these adjustments, just get rid of that middle fin and go. All right, so this is the last of what we have to print. So this is going to be the clips for both sides. Here's any of the different settings if anyone cares about that. Not that I think they would. And let's see what happens. All right, so this is the final completed frame. So all of these can be lifted out, clipped right into place, into this middle box. Everything is silicone down, so now it's just time for foam. All right, so this is the front section now done and combined in combination with the one of the side sections that I've completed. So what's left is the background and then this the third side over here. But you can kind of see how it's taken shape. You know, you have a little burrowing jacuzzi with a port over into the main substrate area. You have another hole here, which allows them to go either up or down. You have, you know, kind of some lower sections, some stacked rocks. Here's a cutout here, so it's another entrance. And then it wraps around, and again, you have another entrance here through a burrow or down to this lower section. So there's a lot of little places to get in and out of wherever they need to go. And again, the whole design is meant to be maybe not modular. I don't think that's the right word for it, but you know, easily accessible in terms of cleaning and stuff. So again, this is all this really built up you know, structure. And yet I'm able to lift this whole section out and away. So there you go. And again, you can kind of see how it's starting to take shape, how some of this stuff has been disguised in terms of, like, you know, where the actual edges and stuff are. So yeah, it's starting to take shape. Okay, so this is the final carved foam portion. And now I just need to go through and spray foam and kind of to cement everything in. So here's the last section. It's kind of meant to be a termite mound with a cutout that leads to a standalone humid hide. And then the access to these tunnels are from this the front section, and there's kind of two little hidey holes there. So yeah, this is the what do I want to call it? Hardscape? Sure. Okay, so the last step that I need to do for this is to fill in kind of all the major seams and cracks and stuff with this expanding foam, and then we're going to have to go back and kind of trim it back down. But this is really the last finishing touches to really glue everything together. Right now everything's held in place with like hot glue and skewers, so this will really kind of cement everything in. But glad I did a test run. So what I'm using here is hydraulic cement, and in some of the later layers we're going to be putting in some pigments and sand and stuff like that to really give it, you know, more of a texture all around. But this first layer you do really watery, just to get in all the cracks that you can, and then we come back with a thicker layer and really kind of touch up all these spots and whatnot. Hopefully I don't forget to mention this, but with the spray foam, the cement will not stick to any of the smooth parts of spray foam, so you have to kind of rip away at it and make sure that none of that's left. So you can see the bottom crack there. I obviously can't reach in there and actually pull it off. So the cement's really gonna have a hard time sticking there, and I can probably glob it on there and get it to stick, but it has a pretty good chance of actually cracking. So if I were to really, I could use dry lock for the covering of this, and that would probably actually be a better choice in this application. The reason I did hydraulic cement is because I had hydraulic cement. But if you were just doing this from square one, dry lock is probably a better option for this, since there's going to be a lot of moving these pieces around. The chances of it getting chipped at some point is pretty high. But, you know, that's the risk we take. Alright, so here's an overview of everything. This is after the second layer of cement, so this is the final test fit before we add the third layer, which will have color. But you can kind of see how it's broken down, and it's actually looking quite well with the first two layers. I was surprised. Seems to be pretty minimal on chipping so far, and honestly everything fit pretty snugly, and I had to make really very few modifications. Alright. So in terms of color scheming, we're working on basically 3 general colors. There'll be kind of an orangey rock type thing for some of these big, you know, clearly rock type structures and ledges. There'll be a dirt type thing, which will basically be everything around the rock. It'll also be heavily used in some of the tunnel systems. And then there'll be a red, which is for this termite mound type thing. So, yeah. All right, so here is the final product with the final layers of cement as well as painting. So I didn't do a video on this part just because I don't feel expressly qualified to actually give advice on this. This is something I'm still learning, and it became pretty evident that at some point I'm gonna have to redo this setup anyway, just because of what I was worried about with the cement cracking is definitely gonna be a problem as time goes on. So eventually I'll probably redo it as dry lock, but basically it came down to a point where I'm like, I could get it looking really good, or I could just settle for kind of adequate in terms of, like, you know, this dirt section is it's, you know, pretty tacky looking, I guess. I'm hoping it'll be hidden by the dirt and maybe not be as obvious, but really it became evident that it didn't really make sense to sink a bunch of time into making it look pretty when at some point I'm just gonna have to replace it anyway. So I'll show it all set up and go from there, but I'm reasonably happy with how it turned out. Basically everything but the dirt section, I think, actually came out pretty good. I'm especially happy with how this termite mound came. So yeah, see how it looks all in there. All right, and here we have it all set up. It actually turned out better than I was anticipating. You know, I was worried that the coloration of the dirt sections of the foam would look not good, but it actually turned out pretty good, better than I thought. And I actually matched the color of the water dish, so this is kind of the color I was looking for, and I actually matched that better than I thought I did. And so you can see, here's everything all set up. I'm pretty happy with this, actually. I really actually thought it would not be as good. So, yeah. And here you can see some sphagnum moss for the humid hide. I really think they'll enjoy it. This is cool. All right, so last of the little tweaks, I 3D printed a little thing to fill in this gap here, not because I think they could actually get out, but because they basically have a crowbar for a face and I didn't want them to hurt themselves. And I also 3D printed a little thing to cover this gap right here. You can kind of see it, the general shape of it and kind of the gap that it's looking to fill. Again, same thing, I actually don't think they could physically squeeze out of it, but I would rather not have them try and damage their face. Now, you've seen I've elected to use mechanical fasteners for this stuff, mainly just because I hate using adhesives if I can avoid using it. So, yeah, aside from adding a heat pad to this, this should be pretty much ready for the boas now. All right, it's been a long time coming, but here are the two Kenyan sand boas that are going to be going into this terrarium for now. These are two male pure rufescence Kenyan sand boas. They're two males, so the risks of them actually hurting each other is pretty low. The reason I'm keeping them together and apart from everything else is that these two are actually positive for two different strains of host-adapted Kenyan sand boa nidovirus, or serpentovirus. Now, I've had these animals for 5 years. They've been positive the entire time. They've had no symptoms whatsoever, no clinical signs from a serpentovirus, which includes a red mouth or mucus or anything like that, which leads us to believe that this is probably just a host-adapted virus, and they probably are going to live, long and healthy lives. But that being said, I still just don't want them around the rest of my colony. So yeah, now they get a really cool sand boa mansion. So first, let's start with one of these two. For the same reason that they have that host-adapted nidovirus, I'm also handling them with gloves, just, again, to prevent any sort of cross-contamination. And there he goes. And I'm going to take you, and I'll put you in the little jacuzzi and let you have at it. So yeah, we will circle back around and see where they end up here in a short while. So this is just a compilation of some of the videos of their first inhabitation of this habitat, and you can really see they make use exploring some of these underground tunnels. I really was impressed at how much these animals moved, how much they explored the habitat, and how much they again made use of it. I see some really interesting behaviors, such as them climbing and actually kind of hanging out up in the kind of warmer light structures. And even setting up hunting ambushes, like this guy right at the edge of a tunnel there, waiting for a mouse to come by. All right, so here's the enclosure about 1 week in, and we can see a little head poking out. This is actually the first time I've seen them out in the tunnel structure during the day. They use it quite a bit at night, but are significantly more shy during the day. So this is kind of cool to see him poking his head out, and hopefully they'll start using it more in the daytime as well. All right, so these sand boas have been in this tank for a little over a month and a half, maybe even more than that. Yeah, a few things. They were managed to actually pry a weak spot and chip through the concrete and expose some foam. But really that's the only part that's chipped, which is really surprising as far as I'm concerned. You can see here's a guy right now. They've really pushed the substrate into these lower sections, which is really what I was wanting them to do. They're starting to use this space a little more. So yeah, all in all, I would say this is a great success. About 50% of the time, day or night, I can look in here and see a sand boa, which is honestly about as great as really could be expected for a species that is otherwise pretty much impossible to display. So here's your final look. Yeah, pretty sweet.